Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining me on another prodigious session of OLC4O Term 2B, brought to you by Wassa Distance Education Center. I am your instructor, Mike Laverty. Thank you for joining me on what's proving to be a nice, bright and sunny day here in Sioux Lookout, Ontario. We're broadcasting from our studio on Front Street. Hopefully it's nice and sunny wherever you are and maybe whenever you are. If you're watching, if you're listening live, or if you're checking us out on YouTube after the fact, just hope things are okay with you. And yeah, thanks for joining me for class number 30 of OLC4O Term 2B. So yeah, we are moving right along with our lessons here. We're wrapping up our discussion of Unit 4. So yeah, hopefully we'll have time. I've got assignment 42 up on the board, but I'm actually hoping that we can today's class we can also have a look at assignment 43, and that is it's the final numbered assignment in the in the in Unit 4, but then there's also the literacy portfolio, which comes after assignment 43. So I'm hoping in today's class we can have a look at those two assignments, and then maybe even do a bit of review, looking back on what we've covered in this course, because assignment 43 is asking you to sort of do like a retrospective look back upon your coursework in OLC4O, and to talk about what you think is some of your best writing, and just it's a reflection statement. You're looking back on all of the work you put in, and then to do that you've got to kind of go over all of the units that you've put in, all of the assignments you covered, all of the different readings, everything. You have to kind of have an overview of what you've done, and then you can reflect upon all that. And then assignment 43 is setting you up to is a great setup for the literacy portfolio, which is an opportunity for you not to collect everything that you've read or not you've written and worked on. The literacy portfolio is it's a selected, right? So you're only picking some of what you have produced in this course. So not everything. So you have to follow a checklist and kind of gather everything up. And and the whole point of this is for you to feel some pride and to feel some some sense of accomplishment for the work that you've done. And that's that's probably a good strategy to do in a lot of aspects of our life. It's good to like take stock of what we've done, and over the course of a term, over the course of a school year. And I would argue, and I think I've mentioned that in this class too, that I'm a big fan of taking stock of what you've done throughout the day and throughout the week, and really celebrating the the small accomplishments in life, and taking stock and say, yeah, I did that. That was hard for me. Today was hard, but I got through it, and just taking pride in that. And there's a great book called Atomic Habits that I read. I think it was last year. I think I listened to the audiobook. Highly recommend that book, Atomic Habits. And that book is all about just creating like little routines in your life, and just like checking things off, and like every day just having your routine and just being happy that you've done it, right? And that'll take you far in life. That'll take you far as far as academics go, as far as creating a routine for yourself or completing assignments. If you can just set aside that little bit of time to do it every day, it'll really pay off in the long run. So I find that works for most things in life. Anything you can do consistently day in, day out is going to be really effective. And 10 minutes a day for a week is going to be better than maybe like an intense like 2 hours once a week. That's not really structured, and you just kind of like get as much done as you can, and you're kind of frantically doing it. But yeah, routines and patterns are really important, and so is looking back and reflecting upon all the hard work that you've done. So with that in mind, here are some important announcements. So we are in week 8 of term 2B. Week 9 will be our final week together. And next week also marks the graduation. So for our WASA graduates, so a week from tomorrow. So for any potential grads, you've got a deadline of submitting work for June 9th. So that's a deadline that I've reminded students about constantly. So if any potential grads are listening or watching this class, know that you've got to have everything handed in the next couple of days. And that's not just my class, that'd be every class. So you've got to hand that work in. And you've got to also got to arrange for your final exam and your course or a course culminating activity, right? So you have to have all that work handed in. It can be marked after the 9th, but it's got to be in by that date. Or if you can't do that, you've got to apply for an extension. And so if you're unfamiliar with any of this process and you're unsure of what to do, then reach out to somebody, and I will put some contact information up on the board and read it out over the airwaves. Anybody else, if you want to finish this course in term 2B, you've got a deadline of June 16th for submitting work in this course, okay? So that'll be next Friday, okay? So keep that deadline in mind. So you've got to hand in everything, have your final exam written and submitted. Everything that's needed to determine your final grade needs to be in the hands of your teacher, and then we can mark it after the fact, but if we don't have it by that date, it will not be marked, and it can't be included in your final grade. And if you can't make those deadline work, you've got to register for the summer term and then start your course all over again. So trying to avoid that situation from happening. All right, so we are on week 8. We're wrapping up our discussion of Unit 4. We need a few more days to accomplish that, and then I will spend the rest of our remaining days talking about the final exam. And, what I'll do for that final exam, and this is something that you can do on your own time. I will be looking at some practice tests that are available from from previous literacy tests. So in order to graduate high school, you have to either pass this course, the Ontario Literacy course, or you have to successfully pass the literacy test. And the literacy test and the final exam for OLC4O are similar. And I think that preparing for the literacy test is going to really help you prepare for the final exam. So more on that as we get closer to next week. So we are broadcasting live as we do from Monday to Thursday, 1 p.m. to 1:50 p.m. Central Standard Time. The number to phone into the studio is 1-800-465-7144, or in the Sulacode or 807 region, 1-807-737-4017. We're live on 91.9 FM and Bell ExpressVu channel 972, and I'm also putting my class on Zoom right now. So if you want to go to zoom.us or just go to the Zoom app, maybe on your phone, you will join, and this is what you're joining. My meeting ID 417-6699-799. All of my classes are on YouTube, so just check out my YouTube channel, Laverty WASA. Everything's organized by playlists. All right, so check out those playlists. And if you have any questions about my YouTube channel and finding a course that I've done previously or finding a class that I've done previously, just let me know. I have everything organized by unit and by course, and the assignment that I cover is in the title of the video, so you know exactly what I'm covering. And if you click on the video, you can actually go right to where I talk about the lesson, but I do encourage you to listen to everything that happens beforehand. You can reach me directly at mlaverty@nnecschools.org. You can check me out on Facebook. My professional Facebook account is LAVERTY space WASA. That's Laverty WASA. And please phone us here at the WASA building, 1-800-667-3703. So if you've got any questions about graduation, the upcoming deadlines, applying for the summer term, applying for next year, plotting out your next course, phone us at 1-800-667-3703. And at this point in the course, you should have completed all the assignments from units 1 to 3, started working on your assignments in Unit 4, have definitely read or skimmed the Unit 4 handout, and you should have read Jimmy Comes Home or have most of Jimmy Comes Home read at this point. So just trying to keep you on track. So everybody works according to their own schedule, but with the course wrapping up, with this term wrapping up, you do need to be on top of those deadlines. Otherwise, you won't be able to make the you're not going to be able to make it work. So, and again, please reach out to me directly. Reach out to somebody at WASA if you need help. If you're scrambling to get things done, we are here to help. We've got a whole team of people, so feel free to reach out. So we'll look at our images and our words of the day. We will look at a headline. We'll look at assignment 42. That's Unit 4, Lesson 18. That is the one that we've been covering this week. So we did Part A and Part B on Monday and Tuesday. Now we're going to look at Part C. And then Unit 4, Lesson 19, Assignment 43. So that's your reflection statement. That's you developing a series of paragraphs. So it's a longer assignment. So it requires a bit of planning and a bit of outlining. And we'll be talking about the writing process. So yeah, your learning goals are to review the writing process, to help compose an information paragraph. That's assignment 42. And you will review the writing process to create an outline for your longest writing assignment of this course, assignment 43. So like I just mentioned, this is the longest assignment you do. It might be comparable to, I believe, assignment 26, where you were also composing a series of paragraphs to express an opinion on something. So you were given the two choices. One was about juvenile offenders being kind of forced to enter community programs and writing letters to apologize to the people that they had committed crimes against. And the other one was that fathers should be forced to financially support any children they may have. So that one required you to write several paragraphs and talk about an idea over the course of those paragraphs. And similarly, assignment 43 will be the same way. But in this case, you're talking about you and your achievement in this course and what you've done. Your success criteria will be to write an information paragraph that is supported by your research into a potential career path. That's assignment 42. And to create an outline for your opinion paragraph that reflects upon all your work in this course. That's assignment 43. All right, so with that, we'll jump into our images of the day. So again, I'm thinking ahead to the literacy portfolio and thinking about the act of reflecting upon your achievements and gathering up all your information together to show off the work that you've done, to either to give yourself a sense of satisfaction, or to maybe get a job, to apply for a school, to apply for a program, just to highlight yourself and the things that you've done in your life. So up on the screen here, we've got a digital art portfolio. So a lot of artists will have portfolios, and these portfolios are increasingly digital in nature. So they may have a physical portfolio that they would print off and give to someone, but if they want to reach as many people as possible, they'll more than likely have a website, and they'll have a digital portfolio. This artist, Christina Rolander, I just found her online, thought she had some pretty cool photographs. So these are her photographs, and I'm not quite sure if she's the photographer or if she's photographing her actual artwork. In either case, they're really stunning images. So she's got her portfolio here, and she also has her CV, right? So she's got all in one, and get in touch, right? So it's a very useful website. You can see her work. You can see like her CV and her her accomplishments, and then you can get in touch with her, right? So it's It's sort of like a digital resume in a way. So it's like, hey, if you want to hire me to do some work, you can get a sense of what I do as an artist and then see if you like it. So I have an Anishinaabe word. Asiginan, that's a verb, which is gather it up, collect it. And that's kind of what you're doing right now. You're thinking about what you've done for assignment 42, part C, and assignment 43. You're gathering up your research for part C of assignment 42. You're gathering it up, you're collecting it, and then you're reflecting upon what you've done. And then similarly for assignment 43, you're sort of gathering up and collecting what you've done. And when it comes time to make your portfolio, a portfolio is an edited collection of an artist or writer's best work that showcases their style or method of work. A portfolio is used to show employers their versatility by showing different samples of current work. And I think that's really important too, to show a writer, or sorry, to show a potential employer. You want to show them that you have versatility, you can do different things, you're useful in many ways, and that's one of the best ways that it's been described to me. And I read it in a book somewhere, that employers want to hire people who solve problems. And I know I've mentioned that in this class before, but it's a really important concept, and that's what literacy skills allow you to do, right? The ability to read, the ability to write, the ability to be a critical thinker, the ability to organize information, to summarize information, to share it. All of these things are helping to solve problems, right? They're getting things done in the world. A few more related Anishinaabe words. We've got Andawa Winzo. She or he goes to look for berries to pick. Asiginamau, pick them up, gather, collect, pick them up. And Ona Bandan, select, pick it up by sight, right? So I like these kind of metaphors, for like going out in the woods, going out in the fields, and being careful and selecting, and that's what we're going to work on today, right? So just looking at everything you've done in this course, and being careful, and just selecting some things that mean the most to you, and that you want to talk about, and that you want to share with myself and the world. Some related English words. We have anthology. So an anthology is a book or other collection of selected writings by various authors, usually in the same literary form, of the same period, or on the same subject. So yeah, an anthology would be like indigenous authors of the 21st century, or like Chinese poets of the 18th century, right? It's usually an anthology brings together works of many different writers, and that either write in the same form, the same genre, or they're writing about the same thing, right? So there's some unifying theme that allows the anthology to collect them under. A compendium is a brief treatment or account of a subject, especially an extensive subject, a concise treatise. To compile, a verb is to put together documents, selections, or other materials in one book or work. So the act of compiling is to grab different parts, put them together. Compiling is also a verb from the tech programming world. When you compile your code, you sort of gather it all together and you run it. You run the code. I remember doing this from my computer programming days, way back at the University of Windsor, University of Manitoba, I should say. Seems like another lifetime ago, and I guess in a way it was. Okay, so here's our article of the day. So as we continue to practice our reading and our writing skills. So this was from June 13th, 2022, so just about a year ago. The headline reads, Early Literacy Assessment in Toronto shows large gap based on family income. The reporter is Caroline Alfonso. She's the education reporter for the Globe and Mail. So again, here's our masthead. That's where this article was published. The headline, sorry, the caption for this, we got a photograph of 4 children arriving at school, and it says students arrive at Hunter Glen Junior Public School, part of the Toronto District School Board in Scarborough, Ontario, on September 15th, 2020. Carlos Osorio, this is the photographer for Routers. Routers is an organization that shares information, that sort of like a collected database. They're like a distributor of information, and people share their photographs with them, and then certain newspapers will use those images. So there's our headline: Early Literacy Assessment in Toronto shows large gap based on family income. So we'll just break that headline down a little bit. So it's an assessment, but it's a special kind. There's 2 adjectives. It's a literacy assessment, so it's assessing literacy, and it's early because it's assessing the literacy of young students. So 2 adjectives to modify 1 noun. It's in Toronto, so a preposition that tells us where something is happening. We have a proper noun, Toronto, so capital T, Toronto. And then shows is our verb. So the assessment shows, and what does it show? It shows a large gap. So not just a gap, but an adjective. The adjective large modifies the noun gap. So it's a large gap based on family income. So not just any income, it's based on family income. And this is the first 3 paragraphs of the essay, which we'll break down together. So in this case, we got a noun phrase preceded by a comma. So a noun phrase is you write the first part of your sentence, then you put a comma, and then you explain more about what you just said afterwards. So I'll show you how that works. A new Toronto District School Board report shows a wide gap in literacy skills among some of its youngest learners from low-income families compared to those from wealthy families, comma, highlighting a need to focus supports after more than 2 years of pandemic-related school disruptions. So that last part, highlighting a need to focus supports, is telling us more about this report, right? So the author introduces the report and then puts a comma and then gives us more information, about that report. Additional information contained within commas. So trustees will review the early literacy report, comma, which provides a snapshot of how children fared as schooling shifted between in-person and online, comma, at a committee meeting on Wednesday. So if you look at everything, that could be done in brackets. And then they could have said, trustees will review the early literacy report at a committee meeting on Wednesday. But everything in the brackets is giving us additional information, about the report, right? And so it's kind of like it mirrors the way that you write an essay. In an essay, you have a main idea, and that main idea is backed up by other not smaller details, but other, more specific details. So you're constantly going from the general to the specific. You're introducing an idea to your reader, and then giving them more detailed information about it, and then wrapping up that idea, leading on to a next one. The last paragraph here, we've got an introductory phrase. So although many children adapted to the changes, comma, some studies have suggested the pandemic left others behind. So that's a very common tactic as a writer to do. You'll have an introductory paragraph. So although this thing happened, this thing also happened. While the nurses were assessing this patient, this other patient was not doing so well. Throughout the paper, the author discusses many relevant points, but they didn't address this point, right? So and they have words that start off like although, unfortunately, however, meanwhile, while, right? These are, and then you put a comma, and then it sets up an expectations, right? So although this happened, this also happened. We have a comma used to list related items or ideas. Educators, comma, parents and policymakers are increasingly concerned about the social, comma, developmental, and academic skills of students, right? So you're giving a list, right? So educators, parents, and policymakers. Some people, like myself, put the comma after the second last thing in the list. The authors of the people writing in the Globe and Mail don't, but that's called the Oxford comma. I like to use it. There's actually a really funny song by Vampire Weekend called it's about the Oxford comma, so I use it. It's optional. You don't have to use it, but I find it helps to avoid confusion. But anytime you have a list of things, the comma is used to separate the items in that list, and then you can or cannot. It's up to you. It's a style thing to put the comma after the second last thing, or before you list the last item in your list. And above all, it's important to be consistent. And there's so many writing rules to go over in this course, and I try to touch on some of them, but I guess you just have to learn which things are optional, which things are not, and then it's just important to be consistent with your style, right? So just stick to one option and choose one and stick with it. All right, so looking at assignment 42, part C. This is where you are writing an information paragraph. So you use the information that you've gathered in part B, as well as the information from Rob Taylor's article, to write an information paragraph on how to apply for a scholarship or bursary for your chosen field. So be sure to do the following. This is the criteria taken directly from the unit handout. So begin your paragraph with a topic sentence that explains the main findings of your research. All right, so this is going to be my information paragraph planner. So sentence 1 is going to be my topic sentence, where I bring up my main idea. Include at least 4 supporting details or steps that support your topic sentence. Cite at least 2 sources of information. You will write a conclusion for your information paragraph, and then you will do any necessary revising or editing before preparing your final version of the paragraph. Use the checklist and rubric below to guide your writing. So this is the rubric that's going to guide your writing. So I have taken notes on at least 4 key points that can be grouped together. I have used a unifying main idea about one specific aspect of my topic. So you've got a main idea. You've written your paragraph in complete sentences. You've written a topic sentence that clearly states the main idea about a specific aspect of your topic. You've written at least 4 supporting details in the body of your paragraph to develop the main idea. You've placed your supporting details in the best order. You've summarized your main idea in the concluding sentence. You've organized your ideas clearly to help your reader follow and understand the information. You've used linking words to connect your ideas. You've objectively presented my facts and information. That just means you are expressing it without bias. You're not saying it's the best way to do it or the only way to do it. It's just the way that you have figured out a way to do this. And you've conveyed an effective tone through word choice and level of language. And we do have some tips on the editing process. So you've used the stages of the writing process. So and then I would suggest that like we do now, you should do a planning session. But you should also go back and edit this paragraph. I've had a peer edit my work. Okay, so that's not always possible, but whenever possible, I'm hoping you can do that. I'm hoping that you can have somebody, review and read your writing, and at least have yourself review and read your writing, right? So even if you can't have somebody else look at your writing, you should be the person reviewing that. I just caught a spelling mistake. Look at that. Paragraph. You know, so even if it's just you, in producing it, you've chosen an appropriate title, and you've neatly or clearly written or typed up the final copy, right? So, yeah, giving it a title is always useful. So let's just go back to the planning phase. So remember, you're writing a paragraph here. So your sentence 1 is going to be your topic sentence, expressing your main idea. And then you're going to have, I would say sentences 2 through 2 to 4. You're going to list 4 supporting details. And then sentence 5, more or less, is going to be your concluding sentence. And your topic, it's how to pursue a career in carpentry, right? If carpentry was your chosen field, that's the title you could give. Your topic sentence is going to be exactly that, right? It could be, here are some steps, right? Something like that, like here are some steps, ... this is one path to becoming a carpenter, or something like that, right? You want to give your writer a hook. You want to hook them in, and say, like, this is how you're going to, this is what they're going to get when they read this article. Okay. Your supporting details. These need to be, you could reference a job posting you found, right? And it should be in the order, right? Of like, looking for a job, finding a posting, how to find a bursary, examples of bursaries, and job postings. And then a concluding sentence. So I mean, it's either gonna be like let's see here. Your general approach is gonna be, I would say, it could be a how-to. It could be written as a how-to article. It could be, a summary of your search. And it could be like a comment on your, on your career or field that you've chosen, right? Or like maybe a combination of some of these elements. I'm hoping that makes sense, right? So you're either writing a how-to article, or you're giving a summary of your search process and talking about what you found, or it could be mostly a comment on your chosen career field. So like what's happening in carpentry, what's happening in nursing right now, right? And it could involve elements of all three, but find your angle, right? Think about a specific purpose in mind. Think about a unifying main idea, right? So this is how you could apply for bursaries and find a job in the carpentry field, or this is what I learned by researching my particular field. So like even if you didn't find very much useful information, so you could use that. So that's probably what's going to determine how you write Part C. What information did you find, and how useful was it, and you can just simply talk about your process, right? But that's what you're doing, right? You're just talking about your findings and your research for this particular assignment. And then again, using that rubric to guide your work, to see what you've you have found, and just to summarize all the information that you gathered, again, from Rob Taylor's article, to any job postings you found, to any bursaries that you may have found. And yeah, and then I would, if you didn't find the information you found to be all that useful, then you can just write about, that search process, and maybe how you could do it differently in the future, or, maybe the lack of job postings you found maybe open up your eyes, or maybe you came across an article about your chosen field, and maybe you decided not to go into it just based on some of the projections, and some of the the way that people are talking about a particular field of work, right? So, and that's what we call doing market research, right? You're just seeing what's out there, and it's kind of like surveying the land, and just it's nice to know what kind of jobs are going to be sought after in the future, and just to see where, especially in your region, like in your particular part of the world, what types of jobs are people looking to do now, and 5 years from now, and especially when you think about how long it takes to get a degree, will those jobs still be in high demand once you get out? All right, so moving on to assignment 43. This is a series of paragraphs expressing an opinion. The subject of this series of paragraphs expressing an opinion will be about your development throughout this course. You're going to go through all the writing and reading assignments to choose the most memorable and meaningful parts of your learning process, and write an introduction for your portfolio. So, we talked about the portfolio at the start of today's class, and assignment 43 is the introduction. It serves as the introduction to your literacy portfolio. It's the first thing that a reader would come across when they read your portfolio. It sets the tone for the portfolio. It explains who you are as a reader and a writer, what you've learned in the course, and it gives some general context. So it's a very important document, and you'll revise it twice. You'll do a rough copy, then you'll submit a final copy for this course, and then you will revise it again when you put together your literacy portfolio. So it's a series of paragraphs expressing your opinion on your best works. So here's what it'll contain. It's going to be 4 paragraphs. So the first paragraph is an introductory paragraph, then a paragraph about your best reading experience, and then a paragraph about your best pieces of writing, and then a concluding paragraph. So you've got the model there. You're going to do 4 different paragraphs, and it's just up to you to figure out how you're gonna make those 4 paragraphs work. You'll submit them to your teacher. After it's been marked, you will make any needed revisions and include it as the introduction to your literacy portfolio, regardless of how you choose to present it. So again, you'll submit a rough copy to me, and then you'll submit a final copy to me, and then I will mark it up. I'll give you some additional feedback, and then you will revise it once again, and then include that in your literacy portfolio. Okay, so it's about your best works. So a paragraph about your best reading experience, a paragraph about your best pieces of writing, and then a concluding paragraph. So I personally would recommend that students start with the second and third paragraph, because your introductory paragraph is going to be sort of offering a summary of what you've talked about, and same with the concluding paragraph. It's more or less like just recapping. But I think what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to sort of divide things up into two paragraphs, or to two sections, right? So I would do this in a notebook. So my best reading experience, and my best writing. So obviously for reading, we have the novel Jimmy Comes Home. And then the best writing, you've got, many different things, like your news report, your reflection, your journal entries, right? Your brochure. Yeah, so you're just going back and doing a sort of comprehensive look at everything we've done in this course. So maybe we can do that now together. I'm going to pull up some. I'll pull up our units that we've worked on here. Just going to make sure I save my work. Always a good thing to do. Always a good strategy to save your work. So if we look back at OLC4O, and we'll have a look at we'll start with Unit 1. So Unit 1, you did have a bit of reading here. There is the introductory material. Unit 1 had a lot of writing assignments that you may want to include in your examples of best writing. So assignment 1, the 7 grandfather teachings. You had assignment 2, that was growing up in my community. So another writing assignment. So the first lesson number 1, actually has 3. You had All About Me, that's your journal entry, and you had the 7 grandfather teachings, and you had Growing Up in My Community. So you may want to pick one of those as your best your best piece of writing. Let's see here. I'm just gonna look at the assignments as a whole here. So assignments 6, 7, 8, and 9, these are about the before, during, and after reading. These are about some reading strategies to talk about when the novel Jimmy Comes Home. We have Sit Down and Write. That was the song that we looked at about the writing process. And then you've got several journal entries in here that just talk about your writing process. We've got Unit 2. We talked about creating a brochure. You read about textbooks and how to read a textbook and how to find information in a textbook. You express your opinion. Yeah, assignment 26, right? So talking about expressing an opinion on on 2 controversial subjects. We talked about advertising, emoticons, and symbols. Lesson 3 talked a lot about visuals, and we talked about form, style, tone. You wrote your second news report. The first news report was about Chapter 1 of Jimmy Comes Home. The second one was about Chapter 4, discussing, Gary's accident on the ice. Oh, yes, your resume, your cover letter. We could include that one. And then, of course, assignment 42, right? So I'll open up our my lesson from today. We'll go back to that. So oops. I want to open the one with hmm. There we go. This one should have the markup on it. There we go. Ah. Lost it. Ah, okay, there we go. I am going to make sure I share that. Okay, so yeah, we are, you've got your news report. Which one did I want to include there? The oh yeah, your resume, your cover letter. And I think, Jimmy Comes Home is probably the best example of the reading experience we do in this course. You may want to include some of the lessons, if some of those lessons appeal to you, or maybe some of the classes that I taught. That'd be great. But if you do talk about your best reading experience, I would say be specific, right? Talk about. I would talk about a particular scene or character, or a meaningful connection, to your life. So you got to get specific, and that's probably my best recommendation to you is to think about a specific angle you can take, about your when you approach this this assignment 43. So, and then you've also got to your opening paragraph. I would suggest, like your overall experience in the chorus, and that should probably include, what, and be honest here, talk about what you enjoyed, what you struggled with. Right, just give a general overview, what you enjoyed, what you struggled with, what you learned, and your main takeaways, that kind of thing, right? And then you're also going to summarize your best reading experience, and I would say list your best writing. And then right, so you've got paragraph 1, and you also may want to do it this way, just have like a box set up, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, paragraph 4, right? And so it's, you know, it's the this is an overview. You know, you will mention, you know, your best reading experience. You know, like I enjoyed reading the novel Jimmy Comes Home. And then, you know, you go into detail. Paragraph 3 will be about reading. Paragraph 2 will be about writing, or vice versa, right? You know, you will list your best writing, and then kind of, you know, go into detail here. And then you're going to offer some kind of a conclusion. You know, some closing thoughts. You also might want to talk about your future. You know, and you know how this course will help. Yeah, so I mean, and that's the purpose here, right? So paragraph 1, the purpose is to give it a general overview. It's sort of like a table of contents in a way. It's like I'm going to talk about these things. I learned a lot in this course. I had a good reading. This was my best reading experience. This was my best writing experience. You know, let me tell you about it. Paragraph 2, you talk about your best writing in detail, right? So talk about that best piece of writing, why it's your best piece of writing. Then you talk about your reading experience in detail. Why was it your best reading experience? And then you go into paragraph 4 where you wrap things up, maybe give some thoughts on the future, and then you've got yourself an essay. All right, so that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for tuning in. We will continue this discussion tomorrow as we talk about the literacy portfolio and getting ready for the final exam.